I am love, I am light, I am peace. I am love, I am light, I am peace. I am love, I am light, I am peace.
So I'm here today with the very beautiful Lightstar, and I'm extremely excited to welcome her. She's an amazing divine channel, and I'd like to read first of all a bit about her biography. So I will read it because it's very extensive, and so I won't miss anything. So Lightstar is a pioneering, internationally acclaimed high frequency attunement artist, celestial channel, and Starseed Ambassador, and her artwork is incredible. We'll talk about that later. She's the author, creator, and artist of the groundbreaking Magical Dimensions Oracle Cards and Activators deck, which innovatively delivers a tangible, intuitive, strengthening tool that infuses pure divine inspiration for self-transformation and self-illumination. Lightstar serves as a spiritual catalyst to assist others in discovering their gifts, and realigning to their natural state is a passion for Lightstar. She speaks over 20 light languages, which transmit and activate soul memories and healing light codes. Lightstar has attained 11 traditional and alternative health, energetic, and body work certifications. She has been a featured guest on worldwide radio and broadcast TV shows, and her channelings are frequently published in the Sedona Journal of Emergence. Lightstar is also co-founder of Starseed Alliance International, which serves as a global galactic resource aiming at uniting and activating starseeds, which I'd love to ask about as well. So big welcome to you, Lightstar, and I just want to say that I really honour the work that you do. I think you do some wonderful global work. You're connecting to a lot of people, and your paintings are incredible. Your artwork is amazing, and you bring through some really important information for people to raise consciousness and raise their frequency, and so I'm really thrilled to have you here. So welcome.
Welcome. Oh gosh, thank you so much for that beautiful welcome and introduction. It's my honor to be here with you, and I'm looking forward to whatever we're going to talk about today.
Absolutely. Well, I thought that I'd start. It's really interesting, I think, to explore people's roots, and in this incarnation that you've had in this lifetime anyway, I was wondering how you were able to discover your gifts, you know, when you were growing up. Was it something that you knew about from the moment that you had awareness, or did it take a while to bring through your spiritual divine connection? Tell us a little bit about that, because I think that's a really interesting journey to explore for people.
And it definitely was a journey. So I would say I've always been very spiritual ever since I can really remember, as far as spiritual goes, you know, I've had an interest in it. And actually I was seeing auras at a very young age, around the ages of I'd say 7-ish, somewhere in there. I started to begin to see auras. I didn't know what that was, and I didn't understand what it was, but I started to open up a little bit more. And actually, like a lot of people, I quickly closed it down because it wasn't understood. And it's not that I got a lot of ridicule for it, but I just felt like it was weird or something wasn't right, and I didn't know how to handle that. So although I was very fortunate too, is that I had very spiritual parents. My parents were, they're both no longer here on the planet anymore, but when they were, they at young ages as well were very spiritual in their own ways. So we had a lot in the family of openness to spirituality. And that was, you know, of course I was raised Jewish, so there was some of that. And then I had some exposure to some of the other different kinds of religions and different types of spirituality, just because I wasn't told that it was taboo to open your mind. So that was the good thing. But when I started to move into the Galactic and the spirit, Starseed and all of that really transpired a little bit later in life. Although I would say I was speaking a light language at 9, 9 years old, but I, again, did not know what it was then, but I always had it tucked away, and it had started to come out at that age. But later in life is when it started to come forth for more of the languages started to come forth. And how they came for me was a lot of them. I would say probably about 7 or 8 of these languages. It was a really big download that I received in about 2 to 3 week period of time. So it was crazy. Like it was something that opened up, and my channel opened up, and all these languages started to pour in. I mean, I was in the shower, I was trying to sleep, they would just kept coming, and I would start to record them. And so that's how I started to keep track of them, because it was coming so much. So all of that opened up later in life, I would say. And my artwork as well started to open up later in life. So the spiritual opening and the awakening process was really always there. I feel like I've always kind of had a very spiritual soul, a very spiritual family in a way, although they weren't open to the Starseed stuff that I am now. That was very different, but at least it was open-minded enough for me to explore. And yet, even if I didn't understand it, I still ended up shutting it down. Some of us really, I feel, maybe aren't really ready to unfold it or unpack all of it at a young age. And it's only because we're not taught that. We're not taught to, open that doorway.
Well,
so if we were, then we would be able to unfold that and unpack it much easier.
Definitely. I think there was a great gift you had there with your parents, really having
Yes.
awareness to support you on your path, because I think a lot of people that have that pathway don't have that parental backup there. And
to know that they weren't understanding of all of this, but they just weren't the kind of parents that would say no or shut it off, or because they had their own understanding about spirituality. So even though none of us really understood any of this, at least they let you walk your path however you wanted to, after a certain time.
Beautiful. And the other thing I find too is teenagers often, because they want to be part of the the general culture, they often shut it down because it's not cool, it's not trendy.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
that's a really common thing, and also because it can bring up the fear of the unknown, and
Yes.
so that's also a really common thing. And was that when you started to shut it down in those teen years?
I think that when I really started to shut down was because I'm a very strong intuitive empath. Okay, I know that now, but at the time when I was younger, I didn't understand any of that. So because I had started to open the doorway very young, and then all this information started to flood in, right? You're starting to feel everything. You start to feel everybody else's emotions and everyone else's angers and frustrations. And I think what happened with me is that I opened that doorway. It all started rushing in, and it was very overwhelming. I didn't understand any of it, and I didn't have anybody to go to, because although my parents were open, I personally just didn't feel I went to my mother, I think, a little bit about it, but the reaction was, I don't think she totally understood it either. Yeah. And so it was more about, well, if nobody understands this, then I guess you just have to turn it off. And also it was just overwhelming. So I think to dial it down was just to be able to cope in the world in a function of, how do you experience all this world that you're seeing and experiencing and feeling, and then not be overwhelmed by that. So I think in that way, I started to really shut it off. And I, in high school, I'd say, or when I was teenage years, I was actually very well received in many of the different groups. You know how in high school there's cliques with teenagers at high schools? I actually was really open to, it was kind of like the chameleon in a way, where I just kind of hop around. I wasn't in one group. I just kind of flowed with a lot of different groups, even the ones that were considered, outcasts or whatever. there was something about my energy that I could just relate to all of them, no matter what they were experiencing. So, but it still wasn't right, or for some reason, it wasn't like I wanted to go talk to all my friends about this stuff, you know, because everybody was just talking about other stuff, whether it be volleyball or, you know, just 3D stuff. Yeah. So I really just shut it off, and it was easier for me to cope that way, to deal with it, and to really not unlock the door until later in life, when I think a lot of people get the second or third chances to say, okay, are you ready now? Are you ready to unfold, to open the doorway again? Do you feel safe enough? Do you, even if you don't, maybe you have to anyway. And there's some of us that get to a point where we don't have a choice anymore. Yes. Like we can shut it off for only so long, but your higher self, your soul, is going to constantly be prompting you at certain times of your life. So I'd say that it's not really horribly bad that you shut things off. It's just to shield yourself. But at some level, you'll have to turn the volume back up.
Sure. Do you think
that can be scary?
Do you think if people can ask to be able to integrate it at a pace that's manageable for them, that's a good thing to do? Because I'm thinking people are listening and they're wondering, well, how can I open up but make it in a way that I can deal with it?
Yeah, great question. I feel grounding is key. And we hear the word grounding a lot, but hardly ever do we really understand what that really means, to ground. But if you are grounded here as far as like in your body, okay, because I look at it as though being in your body here. A lot of starseeds don't want to be in this body, okay? We are usually going, what is this suit that we're in? This is weird, okay? We're usually like not used to this body and not used to this suit and how it reacts to different stimuli in the environment. So when we are when we focus on being in our body, okay, because sometimes what happens with intuitive empaths especially is that they will shut down, turn off the volume, and that's to protect yourself from outside. But what ends up happening is that you then end up shutting it off for yourself. So you don't even feel your own energy anymore. You don't really see, you're not in your body anymore. So I think that grounding is the key to get back into your body and to really begin to understand your feelings, your emotions, starting to understand, like, what am I feeling right now? And to really understand that, okay, that's my feeling. Or if you're in a situation with a bunch of other people and you're picking up something from someone else that you can tell by you weren't feeling that when you left to go to the party or the group, whatever it was. But you're feeling it when you came back. And so you have to start to realize what is somebody else's stuff and then what is your own stuff. And that is key. So I call that grounding because it is grounding. You're pulling your energy back into you. And I feel that that can be extraordinarily helpful for people that really want to escape the body, but that doesn't actually help you to open up your spiritual gifts and to know who you are and do it well here, to stay in that balanced place. I mean, there's a lot of other things like shielding, constant shielding. A lot of people that are real sensitive have to do probably more than the average person to shield and take care of themselves, and then start to open that doorway and dial it up, and then ground, and then open it a little more and then ground. And so you constantly are doing this integration like dance, and that's how you stay grounded with it and balanced with it without opening and having a floodgate of stuff come in, and not giving yourself chance to integrate and pull it down into your body.
Sure. That's great advice. So just to clarify, being able to discern between what's yours and what other people's stuff is the grounding element. So to techniques like visualizing grounding roots going into the earth, feet, and grounding cords, and even I heard of a good energy technique. Tapping your cheekbones is really good at bringing your energy down and grounding. So also the other thing I'm wondering about with grounding, and to help people who are listening who are wanting to ground, is the importance of presence, being in the moment. That's a really important grounding aspect, isn't it?
Yeah, we have to be here. We have to be here in this moment, in as much as we possibly can. Now, we're not all perfect at it. We get that. And I just know that a lot of people like to do meditations that are very, I want to say they're out here. They're meditations that are out here, and that's fine. I mean, you're in the astral plane and all these other places, dimensions, but that's fine to go on these journeys, but you also have to do some kind of connection with your body to bring it back here. So I always also recommend that people even do simple stuff when they feel like they're not in their body, is to immediately stop for a moment, feel the energy of your hands, feel the energy of your feet. So visualizing is great, but if you're not actually feeling it, you're just visualizing it. So the trick is to take those visualizations and really, really feel them. Use your clairsentience, the actual energy of feeling in the body, because that is why we are in these bodies.
Yes, definitely. Things like
we're in touch with them.
Yeah. I think that's a really good point, because when you, for example, go for a walk in nature and you touch trees and you touch flowers and you smell the beautiful perfume of the flowers, and use your senses to really come back into the body, that's a really great point.
Yeah, and I use a technique too with a lot of my clients, because I do this, and I did this for myself, so this is not something I didn't already do many years ago, that I was filled, like after you accumulate so much stuff from everybody else, like over years of my family stuff I took on and everybody else's stuff I took on, friends, everybody, then it was accumulated, and have to release all of that stuff too, because that prevents you from actually getting in touch with your body too. It helps to release all of that. And so one thing I like to do and help and tell people to do is to go out in nature, sit on either grass or sand that has not concrete, sitting on Mother Nature. And you put your hands just down on the earth by sitting, and you actually envision and feel all of those energies of other people's stuff. It could be memories coming up from the past, energies of anger of somebody else's stuff, and whatever comes up, you accumulate that sort of in your body, but you allow it to go out your hands, out, down into Mother Earth, where regenerating it and transmuting it, and of course giving thanks and gratitude for Mother Earth for transmuting it. It's okay to do that. We're not polluting Mother Earth, as long as we're allowing to give permission and to give thanks for that. You can also use violet flame if you don't want to use Mother Earth, but somehow you got to get it from here inside your energy field out of you. And I can't tell you how freeing that was for me to do that. I did it on a period of like 5 or 10 minutes, even just a day, for like 2 weeks. And if somebody does that, they will feel so much lighter and so much more present, that it's really a powerful tool. So I would recommend that to everybody who feels like overwhelmed.
Oh, good. Excellent. That's a wonderful one. The other thing that you were talking about was the importance of shielding. So with my clients, I talk about putting like a bell jar over them, like a glass bell jar or something like that, if you're wanting to separate your energy. How do you shield, apart from the ultraviolet purple flame, which is such a brilliant tool? What are some of the ways that you can recommend for people to do that?
Well, there's a simple one, which I'll give here. Some of the more, it's not really simple, but more of the energetic and visual ways, I'm going to actually be coming out with that very soon. So it's going to be some visual healing shields for people. But the one that I'm going to talk about is something that anyone can do when you're talking to other people and you don't want to take more stuff on, or they're really angry or something like that. You can envision yourself being in front of that person. Okay, you're standing there talking to them, but you place in the middle between the two of you this beautiful wall of pink and green. Some people like to use green more and some people like pink more. I actually use them both. So it's like feeling like this ivy, you know, of Mother Earth is like right in front of you, and this pink love is actually there present. So when their anger or their frustration or something else is coming at you, it goes right into this field of this pink and this green ivy, and it reflects. It doesn't come into you, so it doesn't go past that barrier, but it reflects back to them with love, so that you're actually freeing up yourself. You don't have to do any of the work, you know, where we're all having to like battle and fight and like, oh God, we gotta, you know, deflect. That actually takes a lot of your energy too. Yeah. So if you actually envision this and feel this energy force that's there, that's actually shielding you from those negative energies. Anything positive can come through, but anything negative or a lower frequency does not have the ability to pass through that, and yet it still passes back to them. So you can really feel a lot lighter. This can be used in session work, or it can be used just in your friends or with your family or whatever it is. And then that's a really easy one to do. And the more you use it, the more you don't have to like think about it so much every time you're trying to do that. Sure. By talking to somebody, creating it. And the other way is by placing yourself in your Merkava field, okay? Because the Merkava field, everybody has that. And that is something that shields you because it's your own shield. And actually, I look at it as though it comes from here. It comes from inside of you. It's not something that's like put outside of you, on top of you. It actually comes from your own energy. And so most people know what a Merkava looks like. And if nobody does, they can go look it up. It's all over the place. Just, you know, the star that's like three-dimensional. But you place that within your body by expanding it out. And that actually can be a shield in and of itself that doesn't allow, sometimes you need it to not allow anything in, okay? But you can retract that when you don't need it anymore. It's not something that like you have all the time, because then you're going to block yourself from everything, you know, including positive connections with other people. And you don't want to be doing that. No. But it's really helpful. So those are two really good tips to help with that shielding stuff.
Oh, thank you. That's really, really helpful for people listening. The pink and the green are my favorite colors. I love those beautiful colors of the ivy. I can visualize that. If you're a visual person, that's a beautiful one to visualize. Yeah.
And if you're not visual and you're more feeling sense, you can actually, everyone knows what it feels like to actually be immersed in ivy. If you lay down on the grass or trees, or, you know, where there's leaves everywhere, you can actually envision that same feeling that's around you. If it's more, you know, if you're not as visual and you want that feeling, then you actually just reproduce that sense or that feeling of when you were laying in the grass or leaves and you were just like immersed in it, and you knew that that was supporting you and absorbing it for you, in other words. So that's another way.
Fantastic. And I wanted to mention that you've got a really strong energy, because actually your energy came in like halfway through the night, and I could feel all this light. It was really beautiful. And so I wanted to ask, how, with your painting, what are your inspirations for your incredible artwork, which is really mystical and ethereal, and the colors are stunning, and I just love it. I dabble in painting. I've got a few things behind me that I do, but your artwork is just so inspiring. So can you tell me when you paint, do you get certain visions come through that you follow, or how do you?
Well, first of all, it's just to clarify, it's actually digital, not like hand painted. So it's hand painted, but it's all digital work. So I'm using with like electronic and digital paintbrushes, if you will. But the inspiration for my artwork came out of when I left the corporate world around 2009-ish. And I was doing maybe some graphic design, but it was for engineering, reconstruction, and restoration companies, because that's what I was working in. Totally different field. And so when I broke away from that, finally left that world and started to come here to open up, you know, and share what I wanted to bring to the world, my artwork started to come forth, and I didn't expect it. Okay, I didn't know this was coming, and I just started to unfold all this stuff coming out of me into a different form in the graphics work. I also do hand code and draw the codes and the symbols and light language that's in there, but it's generally done in like Photoshop, Illustrator, and those kinds of programs. So this is really interesting though, because I didn't really expect it. I didn't know what was going to come forth, and it keeps evolving. But what I realized what I was doing was that because I'm very connected to the galactic realms, also to the angelic and the elemental realms, I started to go to these places in other dimensional timelines and in dreams, and also in waking state dream time. And I was bringing these visions back of these actual places and these characters and these beings. And I realized that these are real beings. This is real places, because especially when I started to create it, I had responses back from people that would say, I've been there, you know, like energetic, I've been there. Or someone said, like, I've been there in my dream time in that exact spot. Like, so I know that these were places. And so they started to unfold, and, you know, I started to do either series, like I was kind of doing my Star People series that I completed at least 9 of them to this date. And all of these new images will be going into a future Oracle deck as well. But the original first work is all of the work that's in my Magical Dimensions Oracle deck. And it was really, I think early on too, it started to look like my artwork could be an Oracle deck. It was like, I started to see that, like, hey, this could be really helpful for people. And that was my goal, was to help people with a tangible tool that could help them connect with their own spiritual guides, their own higher self, and to work and build their intuition stronger. And so that was kind of the premise behind my work, and leading into the Oracle deck as well. And it was very, very, it was just eye-opening for me that what was coming forth. I realized that my higher self and the guides that I work with in these other dimensions and these other realms, and the star beings that are there also, wanted this information to come through in a unique way. That I have a very unique energy. So it's like, you know, it's not going to come through like everybody else's stuff. I've kind of always been that way and I thank my father for this, because he was also a pioneer himself, and he was a pioneer in the chelation field. He was a physician, a doctor, and that's kind of a whole alternative route. So he didn't ever do anything, just, you know, like everybody else. You know, he was a kind of a leader that followed his own path. And so I feel like I've kind of been the same, even though it's been a different whole thing altogether, that I feel I'm bringing that here, because that's kind of who I am, and that's the energy that I am. And I'm not, it's not like I mean to do it even purposely. It's just, it's like the natural course of how I'm seeing I'm activating people by my artwork, through my sessions, and through my and the energy that I'm bringing, with not just telling people their soul origins and looking at who they are, but to using the light language to help clear them, and then using the visuals to help activate them and spark memories and recall. So it's kind of it's become this like amazingly awesome, you know, soup mix that I've created here. And the ingredients is like almost like it's like a soup that you've never tasted before.
Bag of lollies.
Yeah, it's like
when you're talking about activating, I'm getting a tapping on the top of my head all the time while we're talking, which is
I have the strangest thing that people will always tell me different things about how they've gotten activated, and through just being in my energy. And I, a long time ago, had a session from somebody that once told me, you know, you're activating people when you don't even know you're activating people. That was way before I even got involved in any of this Starseed and started moving into that work. But so I think, again, I've kind of always had this ability to just activate people. But I found that through, because sometimes you're on your own journey with figuring, well, how do I do this? Or how does this work? And I realized that because you got to be true to your own self and your own energy field and not try to be like somebody else's energy, right? Because that never works, and you're not going to be that. So I had to realize, well, what is my essence and what is my frequency that I'm bringing? And it's definitely helping to calm people, to ground people, so that we can activate you in a more grounded way. Okay, so that's kind of I'm a very practical person, to be honest. Like, I'm actually very practical, even though I'm like super out there into all the other stuff. But I find that if we don't bring it here, then there's no real purpose for you to go out there except for just enjoyment and pleasure and possibly even escapism.
Yeah.
You know, when you're doing that, you can get addicted to that too. So we have to bring it home. And that's what I'm trying to bring with my artwork, with the sessions. And also, there's more that's coming. I mean, I have not even unfolded or unpacked everything that I am. And I know that. But for me, it's like we all have that, though. It's not just me, and I'm saying that. Everybody is evolving, and everyone's expanding with their soul gifts right now, that I feel we're exploring and uncovering and moving, you know, more into accepting within ourselves, because I feel this planet needs it right now, you know. So the people that are out there hiding, and I get it, because I was hiding for a long time, but you know, we need you out here now. Okay, there's a lot of times we need you guys to step out of the closet or out hiding behind the corner and just come out with it and have the courage. That's one of the largest things, is courage. Okay,
exactly. I totally agree. In fact, I just did a video on that like a few days ago. Lightworkers, empaths, healers, we need you. And I said exactly what you just said, which is so important, because it's the time, isn't it, now for people?
And I think we're all, some of us have gone through these waves of difficulty getting here, because we were supposed to do that to set ourselves up so that we could help other people to do the same thing and to walk through the doorway. Because I don't want, you know, for myself, I don't want people to come back to me over and over and over and over. Like, I'm not comfortable with that energy, and I want people to empower people to get what it is that we need to do, and then activate you or clear or whatever it is, and empower you to get these answers from within. Okay, that is the most important thing. And I know that I don't care eventually if I don't do this anymore, because, you know, oh, you're turning people away. It's like, I don't care. That's not the whole point for this. The point is to activate and empower people to be able to live on this planet, do their mission, bring their mission, have the confidence, have the clarity, and to make your own choices and decisions that's coming from inside of here with your own higher self. Like, that is the, you know, we're here to have the experience, and some of us are here to have an experience as well as change the things that aren't working here in different ways. But that is the basis behind, I think, all of us to do this kind of work. And for all the healers out there, this is, you know, important to know. We're not in the old model of what I used to call chiropractor psychic. I'm not the chiropractor psychic, okay? So we don't want people coming back over and over again like we have to do with the chiropractor. It's totally different paradigm, and it's a different model now. And that's what I feel that we're here to do, is to emulate that, maybe be as a mentor, or maybe be as that certain guide in some ways that shows people, but to help them to do the same thing in their own way. Okay, because that's really important, is in their own way. I'm looking at that for people, okay, not what I say, what this is what you have to do to get there. You know, yeah, they could be tools and tricks that people could use to help them, but then it's really important to find out the essence of that person and what clicks in place for them.